Until it burns, I wanna DJ my own funeral to watch the tables turn. Catch a rare disease, something to bring me sympathy. No way to blame me if I made a wish for immortality. Sometimes I scare myself, sometimes I scare myself. I try to lock these thoughts inside a dome, but it ends up being my panic room. When the demons are thinking of skeletons, the ghosts leave me with the way around. Throw away the cage, just another day in the panic. Just another day in the panic. Just another day in the panic. I know you're just the same as me. We have a shared insanity. I wanna be the hidden camera in your deepest, darkest dreams. I wish I could hide from all this film. Look at the walls of sand I built. Wish I could turn my back, stop getting trapped in this cycle of blooming guilt. I try to lock these thoughts inside a dome, but it ends up being my panic room. When the demons are thinking of skeletons, the ghosts leave me with the way around. Throw away the cage, just another day in the panic. Just another day in the panic. Just another day in the panic
What's up, Disciple family? Welcome to String Theory. I'm Andrew, and I'm really glad you're watching. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for being here to be a part of this whole thing. This is hopefully going to be a regular series for me where I talk about music, the history of our industry, my history with Disciple, all kinds of interconnected things and how they've worked together in our story and especially in my life. And then I'm also going to be sharing music with you. So make sure you stick around till the end of this episode today for a look at the guitar and bass playthrough on Panic Room. It's going to be a blast. But I wanted to start off by just saying thank you so much for these last couple months. As many of you know, in July, I came back to full-time touring, full-time everything with Disciple after 2.5 years of being involved with songwriting and recording. I did a couple shows, did some of our live streams, but I was not out on the road. I was not touring. I was not fully participating in Disciple life as I had for the 6 years prior. So over the last few months, I've gotten a huge warm welcome from everybody across every state, and it's been really special for me because you never know what the response is going to be like when you're away from something and then come back to it. I was hoping it'd be positive, but it's really exceeded my expectations. So thanks for making me feel welcome and right back at home. And speaking of home, that's where I am right now, the back lounge of Phyllis, the Millennium Falcon of Christian rock, aka Disciples Tour Bus. And tonight we're just parked. We're getting ready to head back into my home state, California, to play a show where I'm going to get to see some family and hopefully play music for some friends. And it just blows my mind to think about going all the way back to the beginning when this started, how everything has sort of fallen into place to lead up to my life in music now. So for those of you that don't know, I want to share a little bit about my background and how I got here in the first place. So go all the way back to 2003. I'm a freshman in high school in Northern California, and two really important things happened in my life. I went to Mexico on a missions trip during the summer right before school started, and I had a really cool spiritual experience while I was there. I got to work hands-on, helping as best as a clueless 15-year-old can to build some church buildings at this place in Baja in Mexico. And I was really just starting to connect with some people and some musicians, and I'd played guitar for a few years, and I was starting to play at church and really get involved in the ministry side of music, I guess. And I'd already been listening to Christian rock bands for a while, but this was like my introduction, I guess, to participating in this world, right? And while I was there, I remember I prayed this prayer, and it's really the only time I've ever done anything like this vivid, but I remember looking up at the stars, and they're beautiful in Mexico. It's like, this part anyways, there's no street lights or anything for miles and miles. It's just desert. So I can see, 10 billion stars in the sky, and I'm just in awe of God's power. And I know that he's got something planned for me with music because it's the only thing I'm drawn to. Playing guitar is the only thing I'm good at this point in my life especially, and I know, okay, there's a path for me to follow here. And I'm about to be in high school. I'm about to have this whole new chapter of life. So where does this go? And at this point, I prayed this prayer and made this promise to God, I want to use these hands, and if you allow me to do this, I'll use these hands to play music and to worship you and give you that glory and be a piece in this, hopefully, band or this music industry, and fill the shoes of my heroes, right? But I want to do that for you. And if you give me the opportunity to do that, God, I will, focus that all coming back to you and not make it about me, not make it about myself, right? And that was a cool personal experience. I was all alone. There was nobody guiding me to that. There was nobody pressuring me or influencing that decision. That was just a really pure moment that I had as a young person. And after that important thing happened, the second important thing was I met a guy named Austin, my freshman year of school. He became my first bandmate, my first songwriting partner. And as we grew up together in San Jose, we started a band called I Am Empire, and we ended up doing a couple records, doing some touring, and eventually meeting Disciple. So a lot of you guys know the story from here if you've come and seen our shows or done VIP Q&A or whatever. But we were in Germany with Disciple, and we were sort of at this point in 2012, 9 years later of playing shows and touring and trying to figure everything out together. That'll be another episode. We were sort of winding down with our touring. It was just getting a little too strenuous to stay out on the road all year with I Am Empire. But what we were kind of doing was playing these festivals. And so at this one in Germany, Kevin was there and told me about Micah leaving the band, and I offered my guitar playing to Disciple if he needed me for a tour. I never thought that he would call me back, but 2 weeks later he did. A funny part of that story is we were at this spot in Germany by the hotel, and it's the last night of the trip, and Kevin knows that I've offered to play guitar, and he comes over and says, "Hey, if you're serious about that, give me your number, and I'll get in touch with you when we all get back home." I said, "Okay, cool," and I forgot my phone number. I could not, for the life of me, think of my phone number. I'd had that phone number for a year at this point, total blank. So literally one of my bandmates saved me. Josh from I'm Empire was like, "Here, let me pull it up. I'll pull up my contacts." And so yeah, total tragedy averted. So thanks, Josh. But anyways, Disciple needed me. Kevin called me. I couldn't believe that I was the one that got that call, but I'm glad I picked up. I'm glad that it worked out. I did my first tour in 2013, and you probably know the rest from there. So all of that is sort of like the domino effect, and I can go on and on about it, of course, but it's going back to that early time in 2003 where I'm making a promise to God about playing music. I'm making a decision to pursue it. I'm putting aside my other aspirations, whatever they might have been. I remember talking to some of my parents' friends, and they're saying, "Well, if music doesn't work out, by the time high school's over, what's plan B?" And I remember thinking, I don't have one. There's no plan B. This is the plan. This is what I'm doing. I know it's probably not going to work out necessarily, but it's going to get worked out, right? It's not going to just make me rich. It's not going to just make me fulfilled and happy. I'm going to have to work for this, but this is what I want to do. This is what I feel like I've been created to do. This is what I'm good at. This is what I have to give, right? This is the joy that I want to share with the world, with you guys, with everybody at shows, with everybody online. And that has only grown every day since then. So I'm really thankful that God sort of intervened and gave me foresight or just sort of a clarity at that young age to see that and feel that. And I got encouragement from my parents. I got encouragement from my friends, from my bandmates. And it was all very, fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to say, whatever your favorite hashtag is, throw it on there. But during that time, another thing happened. And this is kind of, a music history sort of connective thing that weaves in with all of this. I had been playing guitar, like I said, for 3 or 4 years at this point, and I had loved the Supertones, and I loved Creed and all these other Christian or tooth and nails kind of pseudo Christian rock bands, and still do, of course. But I was sort of missing a favorite band. I hadn't really bonded oh my gosh, this is the band. I got to get everything I can from this band. But in 2003, around the time all this was happening, I had heard sounds from a band and read articles or seen highlights from a guitar player named Eddie Van Halen. And I knew that it was cool, and I knew I liked classic rock a lot. I thought Guns N' Roses was great. All the Ozzy stuff with Randy Rhoads, of course, was amazing to me. But none of it was perfect. The missing piece was there, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew from listening to all these eras of rock, metal, and guitar players that there was something, right? Inside this big puzzle, there's a centerpiece for my brain, and I haven't found it yet. And I remember turning on the radio in San Jose. There was a rock station called KSJO, and I caught the very end of a song, and I was pretty sure they were saying Panama in this chorus, and the guitar tone and the energy and everything just sounded so cool. And I was like, I don't know what band that is, if this is, maybe this is Motley Crue, maybe this is Twisted Sister, I don't know. And they say that's Van Halen. Cool. That's a pretty close thing to what I'm looking for in my mind's ear at this point. Trademark phrase, by the way. Feel free to use that. Basically, I get excited and I get intrigued and motivated to find this band's catalog. Okay, maybe I like one song. Maybe this is it. Maybe this isn't it. But my buddy Dan, who is in I'm Empire as well, ends up burning me a CD because I didn't have a CD burner with Jump and Panama and Humans Being, all by Van Halen on there. And needless to say, all three of those songs completely changed my life and my world and my musical perception, because I loved it. I loved every second. I loved every note. I got every Van Halen album I could after that throughout the rest of that year. Listened to it nonstop, started figuring all of these things out by ear. I wasn't really savvy with like going online and finding tabs. So I did a lot of self-teaching that year and learning how to play Panama and, Unchained and You Really Got Me. All these classic, rock and roll guitar-centric songs really warped my desire to like play guitar from here, warp speed all the way to the front of my life. Nothing else mattered. Like I went to school because I had to. I did the other things I needed to do in life because that's what you do. But it was all just to get it out of the way so I could get home and play guitar. I didn't have a car or a girlfriend, so I would just be home in my room for 3 or 4 hours a day after school. Freshman, sophomore year, whatever this is. I guess this is sophomore year, 2003 going into 2004. And I'm going to learn this stuff. I'm going to get good. This is what I like doing. I like being in this room and playing this guitar and hearing these riffs. This is just what I lived for at this point in my life. And it really changed me as a musician, right? And the guys from that band are not role models of mine personally. They're not, what I would call like musical idols, because I don't want to ever get to that point with it, but they're definitely musical heroes of mine. Guitar hero and performance hero, tone hero, ingenuity hero. All those things kind of wrap up into this band. And if you've never listened to them, check it out. If you like classic rock, it's really cool. It's really fun. It's like heavy metal, but you can dance to it, right? So I definitely recommend it if you're a musician who's looking to experience that. The lyrical content of this band is like nothing. It's like, just empty party words, really. So it's not going to spiritually fulfill you. And I know for a lot of people, if you feel like the secular music world is not something you want to open yourself up to, I fully support that. But for me, it was just a musical connection that I had with this guy playing guitar on this crazy striped Stratocaster, right? And over the years, what I've learned is that so many other people, musicians, guitar players, singers, have had that same experience or had it when Van Halen was a new band. And in 2020, as I'm sitting home, not touring, not playing guitar, in a live setting, I'm doing a lot of producing and recording. When Eddie died last October, all of a sudden my social media feed is just flooded, right? It's just totally inundated with people paying tribute to this guy. And for a year since then, I've been really blown away, as I've said on socials and stuff. Like, everywhere I go, people are stoked about this guy's musical legacy and his impact on the world of guitar, the industry of guitar, the sound of guitars. And it's been so cool for me to see, because during this time as a 15-year-old discovering them, I'm the only person I know who listens to them. Most people have kind of heard of them, but I'm the only guy with a red, black, and white striped binder at Santa Teresa High School in 2004, okay? And to be a part of a world now where we can connect online and really share a lot of our enthusiasm for this kind of stuff is super awesome. And one of the other people that had this experience was Michael Sweet from Stryper, as I've learned. And this has kind of culminated. A fan recently gave us this guitar pick to Josiah, I believe, and said, "Hey, I want you to have this Stryper guitar pick." You can kind of see that there. It's black with the yellow stripes, right? Well, the funny thing is, it's sort of true, but it's sort of not true. This is actually a Van Halen pick with Eddie's signature right on the back there. And it's kind of a tribute to his Bumblebee guitar, the black and yellow one from Van Halen 2. And what happened is, when that came out in the late 70s, that influenced a young Michael Sweet. He saw the show that Van Halen had where Eddie had the guitar with the black and yellow stripes, and David Lee Roth had the matching pants. And he's flying around the stage dancing and kicking and spinning, and Ed's got that guitar, and he thought that was a really cool aesthetic, and that became the inspiration for Stryper's complete stage look with all the black and yellow, so the yellow black attack. Well, what does Stryper do? They go on to create this whole new world of Christian rock and metal that can exist in a market that would normally just be reserved for, mainstream rock bands like Van Halen, but there's this world of people that want to do this, but they want to take what, the enemy or the world or Satan or whatever you want to say intended for bad, intended for self-indulgence. Rock and roll is an innuendo in its name. This thing that exists is not really born of like a pure desire to worship God or whatever when it first is introduced to the world. But what do? Michael Sweet, Kevin Young, all these guys that do Christian music, we take what the world intended for something, inward, that glorifies, is self-glorifying and self-edifying, and we turn it into something that is God-glorifying. We turn it into something that honors others, that can lift people up, that can make changes in the world and in people's lives just by being recorded and just by being sung and played at shows. And that's a beautiful thing. And to learn that Stryper, got their musical inspiration and visual inspiration from the same band I did in a completely different era just blows my mind. I think that's so cool. And by Stryper in the early 80s doing what they did, they opened the door for other Christian rock bands to exist, to sort of jump on to that scene. One of those bands was called White Cross, and in the late 80s they put out an album, and it was on cassette tape. And in Knoxville, Tennessee, in the late 80s, a guy named Mike Sexton gave this cassette tape to a little kid who was too young to be in his youth group, but he was a kid that he wanted to encourage and open up his life and his mind to some cool music that was, brand new, and that kid was Kevin Young. And Disciple has been born out of that moment, that cassette tape being handed off in a moment of encouragement and love and intentional, building and sharpening from a youth pastor to a little teenage kid. And that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. That's why we're out, because these dominoes fall in the music industry, and Van Halen influences Michael Sweet, who opens up the door for White Cross, who makes a record and gets passed along from a youth pastor to Kevin Young, and all of this Disciple existence comes out of that. That just, it's like everything is this way, sure, but when you look at that, you see the threads, right? You see the strings that connect God's will and God's love between people across time. There's no barrier about what's popular, and there's no limit on what's relevant musically or culturally. This stuff exists beyond space and time. Music is totally angelic and heavenly, and it goes way, way, way past what we can comprehend. I believe that. And to see all those things, happen in a full circle sort of way really just gives me a lot of excitement, and a lot of motivation, because it makes me realize that by being here and contributing to what Disciple's doing now, I've got the ability to do that to another generation of young guys, and youth pastors, you guys, all of you watching, who are passing along our music and our words and our message to your children or their friends or your buddies and your family, whatever it is. And this just keeps growing and growing. And as the world gets bigger, I think there's just more and more opportunity every day to do these small and meaningful things where we can take what may have been intended for bad and use it for good, right? We get to decide that, right? We get to be in charge of what we do with our love and our energy, and we get to control our relationships, right? We get to be in control of how we make our relationships good. We get to be intentionally good regardless of what's been done to us, right? That's Christ's example. And in music, it's sort of like a trivial thing when you think about the real problems of the world, but music is special because it speaks to people, right? All of you are going so far above and beyond what I would ever expect of a fan of a band, right? We're a family. Like, you guys actually take care of us, and that's so rare and special. And I'm just really thankful for that, and I'm thankful for the recognition of how this all came to be, and that I happened to just walk a path where God made a way, and He, shone a light so that I could walk it and be here. And I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to, be in this, the presence of these guys, and the presence of you all at shows, and of course here online. It just gives me a real sense of appreciation. So I'm sure there's 100 other ways I could say it and it would all be really meaningful, but that's it.